So welcome back to this patch of earth with Lou and Theo. And we have been meaning to do a spring tour of the garden for quite some time, but it really hasn't been spring. We've had a very extended winter, been freezing cold and raining pretty much every day. So this is the first, or probably the second nice day we've had this spring, and we thought we'd bring you along for a tour. Now I don't really have a plan for this video. I just want to show you around and show you what's growing and what we've been doing and what we plan to do. And just a little bit of a warning, a couple of warnings actually. The first one is that it probably will be quite long, so I'm going to split it up into a few different videos for you. So if you like what we tell you in the first one, look out for the other ones, maybe consider subscribing. And the other warning is that if you like a neat and tidy garden with lots of neat rows, please turn off right now, because this is really an edible jungle. That's what I'm going to be showing you. And there's not really any neat rows anywhere. But let's get into the tour. So in these two wooden raised beds, which are the original raised beds in the garden, there's lots of things growing. You can see it's gone rampant. But here we've got some beautiful purple cauliflower, which has been absolutely amazing. And I really do recommend giving the purple cauliflower a go if you haven't before, because I've found it's been a lot less prone to pests and diseases. So that's been fantastic. And we've had a very, very wet winter and spring. So it could have been pretty awful with some diseases, but they have done extremely well. And not only have we been eating the beautiful purple cauliflower, but we've been eating the leaves as well, very much like kale, just stripping the leaves off the central stalk and chopping them up and using them exactly like you would kale, which has been fabulous. There's also lots of different peas in the garden, and I'll show you the different types that we've got. On this side, which are almost finished, we've got the Frank's pea. And Frank's pea, I think, has become my favourite pea, firstly because it has the beautiful pink and purple flowers, but also because you can eat the pea at all stages. Whereas a lot of the peas, I've got telephone and alderman peas along the garage wall here, going up some trellises. But with the Frank's pea, you can eat it as a mange tout, you can eat it as a snow pea, and you can eat it as a shell pea. Whereas with the other ones, if you try and eat them at an earlier stage, they often are very stringy and a bit fibrous. So that is a pea that I recommend. It is an old heritage heirloom pea, Frank's pea. So if you see the seeds for that, snap them up. It's a really attractive pea. But that has come to the end of its life now. We've been getting masses and masses of harvest off that at all different stages, and it's just about to be pulled out. So I thought I'd just let you see it before we took it out. At the back of this garden, which we'll show you some shots of, we've also got some things self-seeding. We've got some carrots self-seeding from last year. We've got some perilla self-seeding. There's some celery self-seeding. All sorts of things are popping up of their own accord, which is nice. And also lots of fennel as well. So I've got some fennel which is just about to be ready to eat, and some of it I'm letting go to seed because the insects love it. We've also got purple sprouting broccoli here, which is just going over the top, but we've had some lovely harvest from that. Often it doesn't even make it into the kitchen because it's so sweet and delicious. We just forage that on our walks and eat it as we go along. And then we've also got the tarragon coming back as well, which I didn't realise when I first planted tarragon that it is a perennial herb, but it's lovely seeing that pop up and get bigger and bigger every year because that's such a beautiful, delicate herb to use in cooking. And that's probably about it. We've just popped some beans in here. I've got some spring onions actually that are still in here, and we're also planting cucumbers in here as well. And in the bed in front of me, we've got some garlic chives, which again, perennial, keep coming back. They've flowered earlier in the season, absolutely gorgeous. The sage, which is flowering at the moment and just beautiful. I'm probably going to take this sage out of this garden because it's getting a little bit too big. I have started some sage in my little coloured raised bed here, the little metal raised bed where I've got my silver beet coming up now. So now that that's established, I can remove this. And on this side of the raised beds near the lawn, we've got a mass of raspberries. Now you can't see it because it's gone so crazy, but it's actually in a pot, in a really large pot. However, I forgot to put a base on the pot underneath it, and of course it's just rooted underneath and coming up all over the place, so we're going to have raspberries everywhere. But you know, I love raspberries, so we'll see. As long as they're not in the way or causing problems, they can stay. If not, they'll be taken out. But these are absolutely full of raspberries, and the last couple of years we've had an issue with the leaves and they haven't been fruiting, so I'm really excited that we're about to have a massive harvest of raspberries, not just from here, but also the plants that we've got all throughout the orchard as well. Incidentally, if you haven't ever tried the flower stalks or even the flowers of kale and any of the brassicas actually, you're missing out because it's a crop in its own right. You've just got to be a little bit careful fighting the bees for it. But this is delicious, and quite often when we're out foraging in the garden, this is one of the things that we enjoy very much. These are the little grape flowers that they're about to open, and there's probably about 30 bunches or more on the grapevine, and this is only the second year it's been fruiting, so we're really enjoying it. They were beautiful grapes last year. One of the principles of permaculture is valuing the margins of your property, and this is a marginal area. This is just underneath our kitchen window, but the soil was so poor here at one point that we couldn't even grow lavender in here, and that's saying something. But we've added lots and lots of organic matter and gradually improved the soil. We've just had a really nice harvest of potatoes out of here, and now I've popped some beans in because it doesn't get the really hot afternoon sun, so they're just starting to come up now. And this is the little pepper or chili that I was talking about that has overwintered. There's a couple of them actually, and it's actually giving us some nice little chilies to use in our cooking. So that's lovely when all of the other seedlings are just absolutely like a centimetre tall and certainly not producing at the moment. So that's really nice to have these. So this bed here is also in front of our kitchen window. And one of the things that we're trying to do here is to actually use our plants to help us shade, because this faces east, and of course the sun in the summer comes up on this side and is quite hot. So our buddleia behind me, I usually cut it right back down to very, very low, but this year I'm trying an experiment, and in between flowering, it's just finished flowering now, I'm not cutting it right back, and I'm allowing it to grow even taller to hopefully shade our kitchen window for the summer. We've also got a yucca here, we've got some beautiful natives, we've got a fig tree growing, which is from my father-in-law's old garden, which we're really excited about. And of course there's some beautiful lavender, we've got some Lechinaltia, which is a great native from Western Australia. All sorts of things growing in this garden. It's of course, the ubiquitous nasturtiums are everywhere, but yeah, it's really taken off. It used to be a very bare garden, but gradually have patience, because they do start to establish, and once you've got a few more roots in the ground and a little bit more organic matter, it's amazing how quickly it takes off. So this next to the garden we've just spoken about is our blueberry area. We've actually got 8 different varieties of blueberries growing in a small raised bed and 4 pots behind it, and they are absolutely loaded this year. I think the rain has been very kind to them. We've also got some red vein sorrel in amongst there, and one of the things that I did right at the beginning of when the flowers started on the blueberries was popped some pots of borage and some nasturtium nearby, and that has just been a bee magnet. So I think we've had incredible pollination on all of the blueberries, and they're just loaded this year, which is, you know, pretty exciting, I have to say. Can't wait for the blueberries. So before we move on to the next section, I just wanted to mention that this is the first time that Theo's cut the grass in the last few weeks. It's the first day that the lawn has been dry enough to cut, and that's given us all this lovely resource here, which is the grass clippings. Now ordinarily we'd put them straight into the compost heap, but with it coming into summer here in Melbourne and the hot weather on its way, this is going to be much more valuable used directly as a mulch on the different garden beds. So I'm going to be taking some of this out to the front garden. I've got a new garden bed there that I'd like to put it onto, and around some of our new fruit trees as well. But one thing with the grass clippings, it's beautiful nutrition for the garden beds because it's full of nitrogen, and of course this has got some dandelion leaves in it and all sorts of things which makes it even more valuable. But just don't put it on too thick. If you put your grass clippings really thick, it can act as a bit of a barrier for rain getting into the garden. And also it can go a little bit slimy. If you're in a very wet climate, it can just go, you know, a little bit yucky. So just sort of sprinkle it on around your beds until you've got a nice light layer, and that is going to be wonderful for keeping the moisture in and adding more nutrition to your garden. So we will see you in the next section.